welcome to Creative Blob. We're your hosts, V.
And Sean. We interview people in the creative industries about their life, work, and hobbies while we doodle jam.
We asked people on our social medias if they had specific topics they wanted us to discuss, as well as some drawing prompts.
Today we have with us Valerie Schwarz. Welcome.
Hi. Thanks for having me. Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for coming on the show. You've worked on a lot of different shows. You've been in the industry for almost 10 years now. Is that right?
Yeah, almost 10 years. Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh my gosh.
What are you going to do to celebrate?
Ooh, my 10-year birthday? I don't know. Maybe find a job? That could be fun.
Man, that's such a good celebration.
Oh my God.
Paycheck? So nice.
It's so crazy because I feel like, I don't know if you guys feel that way, but for me, when I'm like out of a job, I'm like, I really need a job right now. But when I'm doing the job, I'm like, I can't wait to be out of a job.
Oh yeah, you always want what you can't have or don't have. It's always like the opposite. Yeah.
Like, I want free time. Yeah, it's so funny. How do you approach your job to find what's, like for every day to be still as exciting as the first day, let's say?
Ooh, that's a good question. Okay, so art directing for sure is like every day is something new. There's like endless things to do always. So it's like never boring in that way. And I guess what I love about the job especially is just interacting with so many different people on the crew. So that keeps things interesting and fun, is just like getting to hang out with like awesome crews all the time. And yeah, I'm a fan of meetings, which is a weird thing to say because I like hanging out with my coworkers.
What's your top 3 things about meetings?
Ooh, top 3 things about meetings. Ooh, I like seeing people. I like meeting,
Wait, so you love this right now?
Yeah, this is great.
This is a meeting where our cameras are on, and the chat can't see us, or the commenters can't see us, but we can see each other, and that's our little secret.
Right. Yeah, who needs a job? I can just do this every day. That'll be it.
So yeah, I think it's funny that you bring up meetings because it's true. Like the higher up you go in leadership, the more your schedule is just meetings back to back. As an art director, can you describe the kinds of different meetings you have? Because there's like, it's not just like the same tasks that you have to do for every meetings, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh my God, there's so many. I mean, yeah, there's been times where like my calendar is just nothing but meetings, which could be dreadful sometimes, but yeah, they're all, every show is different. So it just depends on like how it's structured and how like production sets things up, and then how you want things set up and how the showrunner wants things set up. So you can like be part of certain things and not part of certain things. So like on past shows, I've been part of like the writer's room, and that was really fun. But then on other shows, like there's no time for that. So I can't really be in those. So yeah, so it's just so many different kinds. There's, timing meetings were important on bears. Goodness. I mean, art reviews, of course.
For timing meetings, do you mean like can you describe what that means a little bit?
Yeah. So again, like every show is different. So on bears, it was meeting with our like head timing director and going over like timing notes. So something else that's like very nitpicky about art directing is like figuring out when like different palettes appear, for instance, and like lighting happens in an episode. So when there's like a transition and you want to make sure that that lighting transition occurs, because that's usually added to the boards like much later, depending, you want to make sure that you communicate that with like the timers and make sure they got that, and they know exactly, is it going to like fade on, is it going to pop on, like just knowing that kind of thing. Yeah, and like other little visual things, like contributing ideas to like how the timing might work in an episode. So like just the animation timing. Yeah, but it was mostly a lot of palettes in my last job.
Yeah, I was kind of interested that you brought up timing, because I didn't know art directors had to worry about it. But then when you mentioned like transitioning from a mood to another, then I was like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah,
that's so interesting. So you brought up color palettes. Would you say that's Is that the main thing that you would do as an art director? Like if you were to try to describe to somebody that job, how would you kind of like break it down?
Ooh, yeah. Okay. I would say like palettes are just like one of like 100 things that you're thinking about. I guess it's just like the overall visual direction and how it relates to the story and helping your team achieve that and like being kind of like a fan for your team and helping them like, yeah, reach the like finished beautiful product. And then also working with the showrunner to make sure that it aligns with their creative vision and working with directors and yeah, it's just kind of setting the style of the show, I guess, in TV at
I,
least.
I was curious how much overlap you have in between sort of the practical animation side, because I have a feeling that it's probably different from show to show, especially if it's being animated in-house. So like for instance, do you have input into like how the mouths look when they talk, or the mouth packs, or how the rigs are set up, or things like that, versus like just kind of like concept and working with character designers and background designers?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's something that we kind of had nailed down when I got on Baby Bears
Mm.
in particular. Our timing director kind of helped establish that for the most part, I'm pretty sure. You know, we occasionally have to do mouth charts and things like in the character design end because we had so many different characters on that show. So
Mm-hmm.
their mouth like movement changed all the
Mm-hmm.
time because their facial features were so different, like all these different animals and whatnot. So we would make those. So, and then we would like communicate with our timing director and the showrunner about like how would that work.
But it's so you're saying how you have like a general sense of what the mouth would be like, for example, for all the characters, and then they kind of like would adapt it. It's kind of interesting that you work with the timing director to figure these out, because Baby Bears, that was like I never know how to say it, because I feel like hand drawn, some rigged animation is hand drawn because there's like a mix.
Mm,
So I guess we'll say drawn on paper. That was drawn on paper. So there's so much more flexibility with what can happen with design and special poses and everything.
hmm
So I guess what does it look like when you there's a new character? Let's pretend there's like a new character. You as the art director, how do you oversee that process from the very, let's say, from the moment you get the script, and in the script it says there's going to be this new character.
Yeah. Okay. Again, I'm gonna keep saying this, but every show is so different.
Yeah.
So, and I guess it also depends on budget too. So, what was great about Bears and also in Ducktales was whenever there was a brand new character, we would do a lot of like previs or just like, you know, visual development. Sometimes, actually most often before boards even started. So the board artist would have something to work off of. So we had an amazing creative director for quite a bit. Her name's Christina Chang on Baby Bears, and she did a ton of like beautiful previs. And also Ruka did amazing previs too. So we had two different creative directors at different points. And there's this like so much like material to launch off of when designing those characters. And a lot of I think the character designers' jobs when they got those characters was just kind of like to finesse it and make it a bit more solid and bring it a bit more like on show style, you know, get the line weight right and turn it around. So a lot of the like initial brainstorming was kind of established.
Mm-hmm.
I think especially on an IP like DuckTales that's so big and so like it's rooted in history, like in Disney, like ancient Disney history, they're pretty particular. So we had to like kind of solidify that well ahead of boards. But yeah, so that's I guess that's I don't know, does that answer the question? How you go from like
Yeah,
the character
I
concept?
was wondering
Yeah.
if you have like any ideas on the characters, and if you kind of like tell your artists like, oh, this is what I'm thinking, or if you're kind of like more on a management type of role where it's like, well, the showrunner said this and this, or like these are like really important things, or if you're completely hands off and the lead character person would be doing this kind of stuff. And then I'm going to ask you that question with every department.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So to be honest, I am not the strongest character designer. So I always I go into every job with that established because it's so hard to be a jack of all trades
It
and
is.
good at everything.
Hmm.
Yeah, I wish I was, but yeah, I think I'm more of like a color background, everything
Nice.
else kind of person. So yeah, we had a lead character in props, black and white supervisor, Alice Romanius, and he was amazing. And that was on Baby Bears. And there was a lead character designer on Ducktales as well. So that's great. It's really good to have support like that when you know that you're weak in one area.
Yeah.
You kind of just trust them to take the reins and you know th- trust their decisions. And I mean, if there's also input that I'll give, of course, but because I'm not as confident in that area, I'll definitely lean on the leads a bit more. And also, I know that characters, especially showrunners, can feel very strongly about. So,
Hmm.
which makes sense. So that's something that, for the most part, I've been pretty lucky with. The showrunners have good ideas and directions too. Yeah. So that's kind of how I treat characters. I just kind of trust my team.
No, that's awesome. And that's great to hear because I do feel like you raise a really interesting point, which is your background is in backgrounds. And I've noticed that's usually how it is. Like if somebody wants to become an art director, would you say it is more strategic to go into backgrounds if eventually you'd want to move up to art directing?
Mm, ew, interesting. I mean, I don't know. Again, every show is
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like if you for instance, I get a sense that it's more helpful to a art director to be able to understand classic sort of fine art and illustration and color theory versus for instance, I feel like a lot of character designers are a little bit more focused on posing and
Hmm.
caricature and sort of silhouette shapes. And while a lot of them
Mm,
I'm sure do use a bunch of color theory, it sort of feels like you're
Hmm.
responsible at the very top for here's the previs or the viz dev images where it's here's how everything fits together in one world
Hmm.
with colors and stuff.
yeah. It's definitely seeing an overall picture and just
Yeah.
a lot of art directing is zooming out and zooming in and zooming out and
Hmm.
zooming in. So you have to be able to see the overall composition and how the characters interact with the environments and knowing the philosophy and cinematography. And
Hmm.
yeah, I feel like backgrounds are also really tough for a lot of people too.
Hmm.
So I mean, personally, I didn't even want to do background design when I first started, and I just kind of fell into it. But I'm so glad I did because it was so hard, and I learned so much from just doing it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that you still have to understand the principles behind characters. You still have to understand the principles behind everything for the most
Sure.
part and have an eye for it and have taste and a similar creative vision to who the people you're working with. So yeah, there's you kind of have to be a jack of all trades, but you also don't have to be able to physically
Hmm.
produce
Sure.
everything, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
you're also
Yeah.
building the team of people that do hyper focus on
Hmm.
individual
Yeah.
things. Do you feel like it's better to sort of dabble and be a jack of all trades versus a specialist as an art director, as far as skill set, or what do you think?
I mean, oh gosh, I'm gonna say this phrase way too much, but it really does depend on the show
Sure, sure.
because
That makes sense.
some shows are very elaborate with backgrounds, right? And then others are super simple backgrounds and then just really elaborate characters. So I feel like if there was a show that was heavily character leaning, backgrounds were so simple, it was a no-brainer, and characters needed so much, attention and time, then I might not be the right art director for that
Oh,
show.
okay.
Hmm.
Yeah. But if it's a show that is, I don't know, maybe is complicated all around,
Yeah.
like theirs was.
Yeah, looks
Or
good.
yeah.
For shows that
Oh, yeah,
look
you know.
good, you should pick me. No, I'm just messing.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with a simple
No, that's
background,
not.
but yeah, no.
No. I think that all this is. I'm really focused and and interested in world building and building out shows and styles from scratch. And I'm curious about what your background is in that area. Have you done much visual development? Have you come in from the ground floor, and or if you were to on a show, what are some of the things that you would think about for like what do you focus on for how do you build a style and the language of a show?
Yeah. Ooh, that's one of my favorite things.
Me too.
So, world.
Mhm.
Nice. Yes. Okay. So, like, I feel like everyone in animation plays video games.
Yes.
It's great. So, yeah, growing up, I played like tons of video games, and especially there's something about Mario Kart that just like tickles my brain in like the right way. The world building in there is so good, and it's so immersive, and it's so stylized. And I loved like the exploration and just like beauty of the worlds in video games, growing up, and then also like to this day. So that's definitely like kind of what got my fascination with world building started. And there is so much you can learn in the world and pull inspiration from. Research is like your best friend when it comes to world building. So, I mean, research is like so much fun, in my opinion. I feel like you have to be curious to be a good director. You have to like want to learn new things. You have to want to like explore new things and bring together ideas that maybe nobody else would have thought of, you know? So maybe two things that seem opposite from each other, trying to combine them in some way and making a really cool result from it. Whether that's like two different, very different artists or two very different like locations in the world. Yeah, so that's, and then of course it all comes from the story. So it's like, what does the story really call for? Like, what's the tone of this moment, and what's the color that should be in this moment, and you know, what's the feeling that we want to evoke? How does this location relate to the character and their story and their backstory and who they are? So, and usually, you know, like showrunners will come with some of that research already done, and you can use that as a launching off point to do your own research. One of my favorite websites in the world is Atlas Obscura. Have you guys heard of Atlas Obscura?
I have not, but that sounds awesome.
Oh, it's so much fun. Okay, you should definitely go to it every single day.
Curious and
It's a fun
wondrous travel destinations. Ooh, that sounds
thing.
cool.
Yeah. So that is like perfect to start research sometimes, just because it finds all of these like unique and wacky places in the world that would not be on like a list of like tourist attractions. I actually used that when I went to Korea, and I found this amazing museum for children called Poo Poo Land. Learn all about poop, and you walk through some intestines, and it was great. So
Wow, that sounds amazing. Oh
yeah.
my God. And you're like going in a tube that's like that is supposed to, oh my God, that is so crazy.
You're the poop.
You're the
Yeah,
poop.
seriously.
That's so funny. Oh my God. Wow. Now you all know what you're gonna do in South Korea if you ever go. If you listen to the podcast, and let us know in the comments if you're planning on to going in the poop museum in South Korea. That is so cool. And so you found that on the Atlas Obscura?
Yeah. It's great for traveling too. I mean, if you're not an artist that just like traveling, but check out Atlas Obscura.
Yeah, I wonder how many.
Not paid,
I wonder if they know if that half of their viewers are art directors, and that it's such a critical resource.
It's cool that you bring that up, because I do remember, like, I think on a previous episode I was lamenting, like, oh, with like social media, like I don't really have these websites that I used to check every morning, but it was so nice having like a website. Like I used to go on Biz a lot, and it had it had like kind of like a modern art. It had architecture design. So it was cool because it was not just animation, it had all of those other like art disciplines. Now I mean, I go back every now and then, but it's not curated in the same way. But like I like that this website that you're bringing up has that vibe where it's just
Yeah.
like a lot of like interesting things that would be hard to find on your own. Like they're kind of like having this curated experience for you.
Yeah, that's cool. I wish that site still existed. That sounds like fun.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure
Yeah.
there's like still some websites that are around and being updated that I'm just not keeping up with. Do you have other favorite ways of like getting inspired?
Yeah, just screen share and show us all your bookmarks.
Pinterest. I could show you my Pinterest board. It has like
I bet
10,000
it's so
pins on
good.
it.
I bet you have such a good Pinterest.
Oh my gosh. I would love to share.
Oh, yay! Oh my God, we should put it in the links in the description of the episode for real. That is so cool. That is very cool.
That'd be fun. Yeah.
Have you noticed a difference with Pinterest? I've heard that like recently it's how would you
Oh
describe
yeah.
AI.
Ugh. Yeah, I mean AI for sure. Ads, there's so many ads. It's so hard. Like I'll click something and be like, oh, that's cute, and then it'll just lead me to a website. I'm like, no, I didn't want to buy anything.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
I've noticed something that is frustrating for me recently is that anytime I want to Google an image, all of the results either take me to Pinterest or take me to stock website. Like I have trouble just finding an
Oh
image
yeah.
that I can copy and paste into my thing real quick. And this is just like a little gripe that is that is
That's
pet peeve thing that's frustrating me recently. But
It's so true. I've resorted a lot to using the screen capture. I've had to use the screen cap a lot more than I used to because a lot of the times the way that images are linked now in the search is a bit different. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the internet is so bad for finding reference now. I mean,
yes.
I think parts of Pinterest that I'm using are still fine, but I don't think I can rely on it as heavily as I used to, unfortunately. But so something I learned from like my first boss in animation, my first art director, he loved like using reference books. And
Nice.
Disney has the like animation, what was it called? I think it was the research library. Yeah, Disney has a research library and it's
Wow.
full like amazing books and it's mainly for the Imagineers, but our art director like abused it, like just loved that place and had like a relationship with the librarian. So I learned from him just to go and like find cool books and find great inspiration. So, and there's a lot of stuff in books you can't find online just in general. So
Yeah.
even before the internet, a bunch of shit. So it's I love just finding weird books, like going to like a used bookstore and finding inspiration. I was drawing a bunch of insects recently, so I went to the Iliad and I got a book of insects for like $10, and it was great. So yeah, there's so many resources if you just like look for it, and even your library might have stuff too. So yeah, and I think the more specific you can get in what you're looking for, the more interesting things you'll find.
Yeah.
And that's where I feel like really good design comes from too, is like specificity and knowing exactly like, I want to draw a flower. It's okay, what type of flower? And like, where is it located? And how does that affect the flower? It's like figuring out what is it like specifically about that you want to enhance and like convey and add to your story. So yeah, research, so good.
Yeah, that's awesome. Research it is a ton of fun. It's easy to get lost into it. Have you done some world building on your own on like personal projects? And if yes, what are your favorite types of like environments to do?
Ooh, yeah. I definitely was like really going at it when I left my last job because I hadn't had a chance to like draw for myself in so long. I love landscapes. I love like colorful, cute towns and
Hmm.
fun lighting. I'm always drawn to like the cute stuff, which I maybe pigeonhole myself a little bit too much in that way, but I can't help it. But I need to expand that. But yeah, I don't know. I think I right now I'm like in a mindset of wanting to learn more about like lighting and how it works more like realistically, not necessarily like the color or not the science behind it, but just like basic like things that I maybe wouldn't know. Like I don't know. There's this trick that I learned from our old storyboard supervisor on Bears, who was talking about like a perspective grid, using a perspective grid for light, like the light source,
Hmm.
and that can affect how the light is like projected on an environment. And I was like, whoa, I had no idea. That's so cool. So I want to learn more stuff like that, like my personal work, I guess. But I've mainly just been focusing on like a little small business lately that I
Oh,
haven't really
yeah.
been.
Oh.
What's
Yeah.
your small business?
It is so weird to talk about because it doesn't feel real, but it's like a cute little jewelry and potentially home goods store based in folk art because I love folk art and like mid-century design and nature. Yeah, so just working on that.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is so cool.
Well,
Yeah.
we'll have to get your site and shout it out at the end. I'd love to promote it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's awesome. I like to ask also our guests, how did you land your first job in animation? Because you said earlier in the interview that you kind of like you didn't know that you were going to go into background. So I would love to hear kind of how that happened for you.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was in school. I went to Cal Arts for 3 years, and
Mhm.
then I was in a great Viz Dev class with my teacher, Josh Parpin, and he was talking about how his buddy was looking for a designer on his show, and he couldn't find anyone. And it was like in the middle of class, and I was like, I literally just raised my hand, and I was like, I'll do it. I don't know like
Oh
what got into me. Like I would not do that now, but I think I was just like very like eager. So he was like, "Oh, okay." And then he forwarded my name to the person that became my boss, Sean Jimenez, and I did a little test for them for Ducktales, and it was a background design test, and I had no idea what I was doing. Like,
yeah.
I really wanted to do like paint, I think,
Mhm.
and like biz dev and like just color stuff, I guess. And when I was interviewing with Sean, I remember this like, oh my God, this is like 9 or 10 years ago, but he was like, I was telling him like, oh, I really want to do paint. Like, do you have a paint position? He was like, I think you should do design. Like he was trying to like convince me to do it. Like, I think you'd be good at it. It's really hard to find people. Like, you should give this a go. And I was like, okay, okay. And I like pretty much failed my perspective class in school too. So like I really didn't know what I was doing. But Sean took a chance on me, which was amazing. And I learned like most of it on the job. And I think he just had like a knack for seeing like potential in people too. So that was like super, super cool. So yeah, so I guess, I did well on the freelance test and I was hired on like the first season. I dropped out of school. It was
Mhm.
like a crazy thing to do because
Mhm.
I was planning on graduating, but it's like, you know what? I can't pass up this opportunity.
Mhm.
And yeah, and then I started working. Yeah, it's just crazy. It was like the luckiest experience ever.
That is so
And
That's
cool.
crazy.
then, yeah,
That is
yeah.
so cool. It's funny. Why would you say that? Because you said that you were like, oh, I'll do it, and now you wouldn't do that anymore. Why would you say you wouldn't do it anymore? Compared to like as a student being like, I'll do it.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I go about it a different way. I feel like I don't know, it just felt kind of like I maybe should have talked to him like after class and been
Oh,
like, hey,
I
I'm interested
see.
in this.
I
Instead of like in the
see.
middle of class.
That's
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd still put myself out there, of course, but I was just like had no fear in school. I was just like, I don't know. I'm a lot more worried. I'm a worrywart
There,
now, so
there's a certain
that's
amount
so funny.
of crucial desperation that comes from being a young artist who's looking to get
Hmm.
into it.
Oh yeah.
Like I feel like I cannot even hit those levels of desperation where your ego drops away. You're like, I'm willing to be so cringe and ask a
Hmm.
question in front of a big class that that's just like, I will do anything to get a job. So yeah, I've lost that. I don't know how I could get it back, but I do think that is pivotal for like making those miracles happen at the beginning a little bit, right?
Hmm.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it's still healthy to be a little cringe, you know?
Yeah,
Like
Hmm.
I think
I agree.
that's something I really keep in mind when like leading teams of people too, is like I'm gonna embarrass myself all the time. Like without fail, I know I will. Like I
Hmm.
will be cringy.
Now we need to know what the most embarrassing thing that's happened on a group call has been.
Oh no.
What would you consider embarrassing doing on a
Oh.
call?
Man, there, I mean,
Is it just messing up in front of everybody? Is it realizing you didn't put
yeah.
pants on for the call? Is it
Hmm.
No, nothing like that. I mean, I definitely mess up like every day. Like that's like, I think, yeah, it's very normal to mess up. I think one time I joined a call without knowing I was not muted. And I was like cooing and cawing to my dog and like telling her how good she was. And then people joined the call and I wasn't muted and they just heard me like going on and on to my dog about how cute she was. Like, I don't know. That was something.
That is
Oh, I don't
cute.
know.
That is so
at
cute.
least they didn't think that you were saying it at them?
I think they maybe thought that at first.
Oh no.
Like, oh no, wait, that's my dog.
That is
Yeah.
so
Who's my
funny.
cute little it's like, oh no, my dog's name is Designer. I wasn't
Ah!
saying, oh, my cute little Designer. Oh, my little guy. I'm gonna give you notes. I'm gonna give you notes. I'm gonna give you revisions. Yes, I am.
Ah!
I think I'd be sent to HR if I did
Oh
that.
Yeah.
my God. That is so, dude, that is so funny. It's like something okay, like real talk though, because we've all here been in a supervisor position. Like, how it crosses my mind a lot. Like, I have to be so careful with the things that I say, and especially when I work in adult animation, and sometimes we have like some like saucy scenes or whatever to do. And I always think of, okay, how can I make sure that everybody feels safe in the do
No,
you
because if it's in context, then like what do you suppose if the note that you have to give is to make the pubic hair more cone shaped than bush shaped, then like you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
sometimes you just have to give a saucy note, right? How would you approach something like that, Valerie?
Mm. Yeah. I haven't really worked on many adult shows, so like that hasn't always come up. Though we did one
True.
time with baby bears. We were drawing a very long-legged ice bear, like rotating, and the S&P people were like, "Do not show any pubic region." And we were like, "Where is this note coming from? We didn't even draw that." It's just like
They
very
We were
like,
not going to include bear genitalia on the guy. What do you think we are?
yeah. It's like, what? Where is this coming from?
That's so
Uh,
strange.
that is
yeah,
so
you.
specific. It's funny though. It's funny that those are the things that they like think about. They're like, well, we
Yeah.
have to, you artists.
Mhm.
But
Perverts, a bunch of miscreants.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I feel like, there's animation's so casual too, so it's like so easy to forget that you're at work sometimes.
yeah, exactly. That's how I mean.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like like you don't want to like you're just getting like just too chummy or whatever, and then it's just kind of like, all right, is it?
Yeah.
The one of the problems with leadership in animation that I often see is that we don't really have management classes.
Mm-hmm.
We're not required to take courses. We aren't really, most of us aren't really educated on like the power dynamics and how they can make other people feel and how you can and what makes a good leader or a bad leader. So I'm curious about you, because we don't have those things. Do you have any sort of like leadership lessons that you've either learned or ones that you like to use, or like mantras or something that you like that embody how you act as a leader?
Yeah, that's one of my biggest pet peeves with this industry is how there's not like a lot of training in place for that. And
Mm-hmm.
most people are promoted just for being like good artists, right? So
Right.
but there's that like classic, thing that people always talk about where you can be a great artist and not a great teacher, and you
Mm-hmm.
can be a great teacher and not a great artist. And, it's a skill like anything else, like being a manager and a leader. It's something that you can improve upon. just like drawing. So yeah, I mean, I've always been super duper shy and quiet, which I don't think is a bad thing in leadership at all. I think leaders come in all different
Mhm.
kinds of personalities. I think it's like, yeah, you just have to practice at it. And having been through both good and bad experiences within the industry, you learn from that too. Like, I really liked what that boss did. I want to take that with me. And I really didn't like what that boss did. I never want to do that to my
Mhm.
team. So you kind of pick up on different leadership styles that way, having been in the role of the people that you end up managing. And yeah, I think it's really just having an open mind and being
Yeah.
really curious and asking questions, asking for feedback a lot too, like being like self-aware and like, hey, it was like, how did that go, do you think? Like, like how would you like how did I do in this? Like I guess it's something I think about a lot. I think it's just being really mindful of how stressful the job can be too.
Mhm.
And like we're all people, we all have lives outside of work, being mindful of that. Yeah, I bought like the second I was promoted, I bought like a bunch of books on leadership because I didn't want to mess up. So there's this really, really good book called Radical Candor. It's fantastic. It talks about leadership and being candid in a way that's like appropriate, but also builds trust with your team.
Mhm.
And that I think is really important too. It's just like having transparency and nothing great gets made alone. So
Mhm.
you're and that's literally what making cartoons is about too, is collaborating with everyone. Like that's the fun of it. So it's treating everyone like your teammates, right? It's not like I'm the boss and you have to do what I say. It's like,
Yeah.
no, I'm here to help guide you along. I'm here to like we're here to work together. Like I'll give direction, but I want to hear your input too.
Mhm.
Like it's a team effort. So, and I think people feel more innovative that way too. Like I know that when my first boss trusted me with a lot of like cool projects and things to do, that I felt more inspired to create something cool. So and I felt like my voice and opinion was like respected and you know validated from having
Mhm.
my boss like trust in my creative decisions. So I want my team to feel that way too. So again, it's like picking the pieces of what I
Yeah.
liked about past bosses, but it's also like you're gonna mess up like so much when you're learning those things too. Like I have, yeah, I mean, art directing is not an easy job at all. Like you are stretched so thin and there's so many different little pieces to think about in addition to managing like a large team of artists.
Mhm.
So you're gonna mess up and it's okay. And
Mhm.
like I guess to anyone who's like starting that job for the first time, like you're gonna make mistakes. Like there's no shame in it. Like you lean on other people. You grow from the mistakes. Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's great advice. And do you have any advice that would be specifically for other more introverted, shy people who want to get into that role but might not feel courageous enough to be in a leadership position?
Mm. Yeah, I think it's just practice. It's like putting yourself out there, like doing that silly thing I did in school and like raising your hand in class. I think it's, yeah, just like practicing talking to new people that maybe you wouldn't be comfortable talking to. So like, I don't know, like meeting new people within a company, for instance,
Yeah.
or like just taking a chance. And if you embarrass yourself, it's fine. We all do. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's also really easy to like the industry is so friendly. Like everyone is so nice that
To your
it's
face.
a lot less,
I'm kidding. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
I know.
Mhm.
What are you gonna do after this? Oh.
No.
So yeah, I feel like for the most part, everyone's really nice. So I feel like that makes it so much easier too, that people are really understanding. Like we're just a bunch of like weirdos working in this industry together. So even if you embarrass yourself, like and you feel awkward and shy and introverted, people will pretty much understand. I think it does take a certain, you do have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable though. So that's like
Mhm.
Yeah.
something that, yeah, you have to kind of get comfortable with like speaking up maybe when you don't want to and having that confidence to know, when things are, like when something's right, when something's wrong, like you have to build up that confidence for sure. But it's like, I feel like it's very, like everyone's able to access that, like even if you're a quieter person.
Yeah, that's
Do
great.
you, do you, do you feel like sometimes building up expertise that you are confident in can help be like a not a false not a false confidence, but like you know how some people might not feel emboldened enough to speak in front of a group of people, but if that same person was a real expert in what they were talking about, it gives them a little boost, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I definitely feel like when you're really excited about something, like it's so easy to talk about something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I also think that you don't have to be like an expert in every way to do a good job as an art director, because like it's impossible to be. So
Makes sense.
yeah, so it's like you definitely like I think everyone has imposter syndrome, right? Like I when I first started art directing, I was like, am I good enough for this? Like, am I like are people going to take me seriously? Are they going to learn anything from me? But I think you just have to do it and then see what happens, I guess. And then you end up learning so much doing the job too, and learning so much from your peers. And yeah, but I think having like even though I'm like confident in certain things, I'm still not confident. Like I don't know. I'm always questioning myself.
Okay.
So
No,
maybe
that's good.
I
That's
don't
good.
know.
That's a good realistic view. I was curious
Yeah.
if some of those things help, or how much you utilize, like, not crutches, but basically like, hey, I'm going to rely on this strength to give me confidence in a situation where I'm, that sort of thing. Because I know I do that sometimes,
Oh
but
yeah.
that doesn't work for everybody. So I just,
That's how I operate 100%. I'm like, if I feel like if I don't know my stuff, I am like I have very little confidence. So I don't think I don't think it's a very efficient way of moving through a career, though, I will say.
true.
Because then it means that you have
to
to
always need to be an expert
exactly,
in everything.
because if you have to be an expert on everything, then you're gonna take like a very long time and to feel confident in everything that you say. So I just want to put that caveat out there that like it's actually way more, I think, productive or efficient at least to be good at trusting other people and knowing who to talk to about specific problems that they are the expert on, and then that gets solved way faster.
Do you guys feel like leaders are often really good listeners? Like a good leader?
Yes. That's so important. That's like key to any relationship in any facet of your life, whether that be coworkers, your partner, or your family. Like it's like people just want to be heard and they just want to be listened to. And that is just like it's so core to who we are as people. I think that when artists feel heard and listened to on a production, then it just builds so much more trust. And I feel like leads to so much more creativity and risk taking. Yeah, and just respect for each other too. Yeah. I think it's like so important. Yeah, and that's the thing too. It's like I feel like when you think of like a leader or like someone in a position of power, you think of like someone who's really like talkative, right? Or like really like confident and like, knows
Trump.
what they're
Like Trump?
Yeah.
No, I'm joking. Take that out, Clem. No, I'm just kidding. Leave it in. No.
Wow.
I think his confidence is maybe mistaken. I think that's more narcissism than that is.
It's a creative block takes an important political stance that Trump is talkative.
This is how we go downhill. Just making these like jokes. Anyhow, I think it's so true. Being like a good listener, and I think also just like what you're saying, you don't have to be the one that's like talking through the entire meeting.
I mean, I'm definitely a yapper. Don't get me wrong. I love to yap, but I have to like remind myself to stop yapping. But I think, yeah, it's so important to like not be like authoritarian as a leader and to not have that ego and to like, yeah, because I feel like those are the kinds of like bosses that I've always felt the most supported by and the most like inspired by and wanting like being like a role model for like someone I wanted to be, like, oh, that person really cares, about not just the art and the job and the history of the art, but also the people that they're working with. So yeah.
a leader like Kamala Harris. We are officially endorsed by
No
the.
more
No, I'm
politics.
just kidding. I'm
Sean,
kidding.
stop
I'm
with
just
the
joking.
politics.
Take it all out. Take it all out.
out.
I'm just kidding. Now it's just a meme. Now I'm just memeing. I'm sorry.
Oh my god. No, I know. It's so funny though. I'm like, oh my god, this is like that.
Yeah, with a big advertisement flashes across. Creative Block, sponsored by the Democratic Convention.
That would be that would be just so dystopian. Anyway. No, I wanted to I like what you said about like like how you inspire your team and everything, and like how you listen to them. And also I liked what you said about like there was so much that you learned when you were on the job and when you were leading. What would you say are the biggest like the biggest lessons that you've learned as an art, like as you were in the process of learning to be an art director?
Yeah, I feel like my career trajectory is like really abnormal. I want to like preface it with that
Yeah.
because I became an art director like way too fast. So like, I mean, I think I did fine with it, but I think like I had to learn a lot in a very, very fast pace because I like majority of my career was being in leadership positions. Like I was only a designer for like a year, and then
Oh
I
wow.
was like a lead, and then an assistant art director, and an art director. So it was like a boot camp, like learning
Wow.
how
Yeah.
to lead, which like I think was really fun because I love like learning stuff and like being very stimulated and not like there's never like a boring moment, but I don't think that's the best route for everyone, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I think I learned so much. I mean, gosh, I think my brain also was not fully formed when I was like starting to lead. I was like 22 or something. So,
Wow, that's so crazy. Like, because,
That's really young.
yeah, how, well, maybe that's a question for after, but like, how was it for you leading from such a young age, knowing that probably most of the people you were leading were older than you?
yeah. I mean, talk about imposter syndrome. Like,
Hmm.
I was just entering the industry and it just started, and like everyone I thought was like so much better than me. So I was like, what? What am I doing? I think I definitely did not have much confidence that I really had to like build up for sure. That was definitely something I had to learn. I think, oh, yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's definitely like, there's tricky situations with that too, because I think here is seeing a very young, like first time, like animation artist getting promoted can be tough because so many other people have put in years and years of work and are seeing someone just kind of like be promoted without much under their belt. So
Hmm.
there was like stuff like that to navigate for sure, which sounds like conceited, which I'm trying not to make it sound conceited because I think
No, but
like,
that's very real. And I could
yeah,
say that like I have been, like, I would say I've been in the position of being someone who's older and having like somebody above me that's younger and less experienced. And it's true. It's like, it's almost impossible to not be a human and, judge the person that's like leading you, because then, it's like we're all flawed people, and we have thoughts, and it's how it is. So it's
Yeah.
interesting to
yeah,
hear your experience on that side of the equation, because I think it's not very often that we get to kind of like hear that. And who knows, like our listeners might end up in the same position that you have. So
We have
I
very talented listeners.
they're very talented.
I'm sure to hear that.
And
Yeah,
yeah, like how did you navigate that? Because that's like that is really tough. That's like a really tough place
yeah,
to be.
yeah. I think you just have to have empathy for your team and like understand that, like, yeah, I mean, I would probably be pissed too if that had happened and I really wanted a promotion. So I think it's like, yeah, leading with like putting yourself in their shoes and like just being sensitive to that. And I also leaned on my boss in that and just try to like keep it professional, like not let it get to you.
Hmm.
Because you're not only dealing with your own like imposter syndrome, but then you're kind of dealing with like a team that you're supposed to be leading who might not really like. And it wasn't like the whole team. It was just like, I think there's just potential for anyone to be upset in that situation. So yeah, I think it's just trying to like, yeah, just have empathy for others and
Mhm.
try not to judge them in return. And I feel like it's just building trust. Like you'll have to earn people's trust. Like I feel like at every job you start at, like every show you start on, you have to earn trust from your team because you're getting to know each other. So I think it's just starting from there, and then if it works out, then great. And if it doesn't, then it's, wasn't a good fit. So yeah, I think that's also something I had to learn for sure. It's like don't let things get to you. Like don't take things too personally. Kind of try to like be more objective with
Mhm.
things that are happening at the workplace and try to understand where everyone's coming from, but don't dwell on it. Just, like try to make things better and lead compassionately, but don't linger on that for too long. Like and think about like, you know, I struggle with like overanalyzing things too. So
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, like thinking, what could I have done better in that situation? But I think at a certain point you have to kind of let it go and then just move on and then move on to the next thing and then put
Mhm.
out the next fire. So
Mhm.
yeah.
I'm curious about what your experience in between different shows has, like how it's differed, like how it's felt different, because you've said multiple times that it's like it depends on what show it is. So I'm
Mhm.
curious about like how your role differed from one show or another, like if you can kind of distill it down to like a few simple things.
Mhm.
Mm. Hmm. Hmm.
Sorry if that's
Yeah.
complicated and I'm asking you to
No,
simplify.
it's okay. I mean, there's so many things that are different. I'm trying to think of like the most interesting thing because there's like dumb little things like what meetings I attend. I'm just like, oh, whatever.
But you love
Um,
meetings. Don't
I
call
do.
meetings dumb. We
Oh,
know that
you're
you
right.
view meetings like Pokemon, and you're like, like gotta catch them all.
Oh. I mean, I feel like the most obvious thing is like the show style, right? When you're an art
Mhm.
director, and I feel like when you're just an artist in general in animation, you have to be kind of an artistic chameleon and be able to adapt to all these different styles and be able to
Yeah.
analyze them. And then, especially with art directing, you need to be really good at like turning that into words and then teaching it to your team. So it's breaking down a style and being like, the line weight is like this on this show and the color choices are like this on this show and here's why and the shape language is this way and the lighting is this way. It's like
Yeah.
really breaking it apart and like we're referencing this and then we're referencing that, and so that is the biggest, I think, most obvious difference between every project.
Hmm.
And it's really fun being able to draw in all these different ways and like surprise yourself with. I didn't think I could ever draw like in the Ducktales style, but I did it and I was like, oh my God, this is fun. Like I figured it out. Like, so I think that's a really fun, like big difference.
Have you had to make a lot of style guide pamphlets, like PDFs of like style guide stuff, like do this, don't do this, like that kind of stuff?
I
Because I
wish
know
I
I
did
always see
more.
those for shows, but I was curious
Yeah.
if you've had an opportunity to make one or two.
Yeah, yeah. So in DuckTales, I didn't do that. That was my old art director and
Hmm.
boss because I kind of inherited that like towards the end of that production. But Bears, that was a weird situation. So I was the second art director to be on that project, and I started on like episode 5. Like it was middle of production. There was already like half of a team of artists, but it wasn't fully staffed up, and the style was kind of in flux. And we were like full speed ahead, already behind schedule, like had to keep going,
Wow.
going, going. And
That's
I was like,
tough coming into
That's
a
the
show. And
worst.
it was a season one?
yeah, it was season 1.
Oh
Yeah,
my
yeah.
God. For everybody listening, season ones are notoriously difficult because there's so many
So
things
difficult.
that have to be figured out. And so things change all the time, basically.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, I feel like the saying is that like by season 3 things are ironed out,
Yeah.
which is like a crazy amount of time to pass.
Because I feel like season one is like building the tracks in front of the train,
Mm-hmm.
like as it's going,
Yep.
and then
Yeah.
season two is like what are the mistakes we made on season one, and you're still like
Yeah.
revising all the things because you realize there's all the stuff you did on season one that were messed up, and then I feel like season three you're kind of like, okay, I think we figured out most of the big things,
Yeah. Oh my God. 100%. Yes. Yeah. That is Yeah, it was crazy. So I'm having war flashbacks from
Ah,
the time. It was nuts.
The
I'm glad I was.
trenches.
and just like
Yeah.
a small like I guess tangent is for people listening who are kind of following the negotiations with like the animation guild and everything from the outside. One of the things also that the writers guild and I think also our guild are kind of like a little bit upset about is that like all the seasons order that we are getting are very very short and it's always season ones, so you're constantly working on shows where you have to figure out everything all the time because not only does the entire crew have to figure out the style for the show, but all the artists coming onto the show have to adapt their drawing style to a style that is not established. So it's very
Mhm.
tricky. And so when it's just like these kind of shows back to back to back, it gets very it's very challenging. It's
It's
fun.
taxing,
But
man.
it is
Yeah.
taxing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's just
Yeah.
something I
Yeah.
wanted to also say. It's kind of like as if you're building a new factory every day. It's
Yeah.
like you're
Yes.
hired in a new
And
start
you're
of
like, I love building a factory. Don't get me wrong.
yes,
Like
exactly.
it's like putting together those conveyor belts and getting that motor oil all
Yeah.
over my hands. I love it. I love it. It stays with me all day. Motor oil all over my bed sheets. It's all good. But if you have to keep building the factory over and over and over again,
Yeah,
then you can't make the things out of the
exactly.
machines. Yeah.
That is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why I
Yep.
was just kind of like, yeah, saying like, ooh, season one, that's tough. And you were
Yeah.
halfway through. That's so crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. It's that was something we talked about a lot too on that show was like we were so grateful to have that many seasons because not a lot of shows were having that many seasons at that time and we
mhm.
really got to explore and by the time we got to season 3 things were great.
Yeah,
Like it was like
Yeah.
okay, this is smooth sailing now. Bless you.
thank you.
Um
So
okay.
you've mostly been on shows for multiple seasons. How many seasons have you been on each individual show? Because it seems like it's like fewer shows but many seasons of those shows. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's like I've done like freelance here and there too on other
Mm-hmm.
projects, but not for too long. But I was on Ducktales for all 3 seasons, so that was like 5 years, which was
Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
yeah, a really long run. Yeah. It was so great. I wish they were all like that. Um, and then Bears I was on, so technically season 1 was split into 1A and 1B, but that in my mind is 2 seasons, which is another fun union thing we can maybe talk about.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was, and then we had season 2. So that was like 3 seasons, but season 2 is also very long. So I would say it was maybe like 4 seasons, but technically it was 2. So yeah, so and that
Wow.
was like 4 years. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're like opposites. I've only ever worked on one season of anything that I've ever worked on. I've only ever worked on. There's only like a few things that I've worked on, like a season 2 or like a new season, but I've only ever worked on shows for one season throughout my whole career.
Uh,
So I feel like a nomadic person
Mhm.
traveling, but like I have
oh.
like the like desert garb on and a walking stick, and I'm but so I'd love to hear a little bit about like what it feels like to be on a show for a while and maybe the whether it's the comforts of that, but also like the how it feels to sort of like build a family with a crew and stuff like that. I'd love to hear a little bit about how that's been.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's first of all, yeah. I feel like that's well, your experience. I feel like is the norm, like especially nowadays, which is so sad. Like fun, like you said, it's fun, but yeah, it's so much more rewarding to be on a project for a while because you get to like really see it
Mhm.
through and see it like transform. And yeah, it's like building this team and hanging out with this team for a while and like pushing each other to keep making something cooler within that same realm that you've been working on for a while. So, um, I mean,
And you get to be used to a drawing style? Are you telling me
yeah,
you can just
right?
like draw a type away for more than 6 months?
That
And just
is
keep drawing like that? What?
unheard of.
Man, that's really cool. That's awesome though. And it's very clear that like that people like you and your teams like you, and I mean the proof is in the pudding, I guess, as they say, that you're doing a good job.
I hope so. Yeah. Yeah. I think it really should just be the standard, like to have
For sure.
multiple seasons. And I think it's, yeah, I mean, again, when you do something repeatedly, you just get better at it. And whether that's writing or drawing or whatever it is, like the more you do it and the more intentional you are about improving at it, the better it'll get. So you just kind of put that show in the oven, let it cook for a little longer, and it'll turn into something even more beautiful. So yeah, it should be more like that.
I wanted to ask if there's anything that you learned from shows that you were working on that if you were building your show's style, if you were building your own show from scratch, what are some things that you've seen done on other shows that maybe you'd like toss that out, or what are some things that you know that you would do for yourself? Like how would you come up with this style and explain it to people, I guess?
That's a really good question. Yeah, I think, I have my own personal tastes and influences, of course, and then there's the needs of the story. So, whatever the story requires is kind of what you're catering to. But my personal like influences, like my dream project would be something that's kind of like, have you guys seen A Cat in Paris?
Wait, I
Yes.
have, and wait, hold on. Let me just double check, because if you're talking about The Cat in Paris, the movie I'm thinking about, I think yes, I
Yeah.
did my internship in a studio that was working with these guys, and I forget if they were working specifically on that movie or on another movie of them.
Oh my God. That's so cool.
Yeah, it's a very, very specific style for anybody like listening.
Yeah.
Definitely look it up. It feels like a children's book illustrative type of style.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That is my dream. I want everything to look like that. But yeah, it's got like a very like flat quality to it. It's like the perspective is really broken. There's so much like nice texture. Like it feels like a colored pencil has been scribbled everywhere. It's got like really interesting character designs and like a really nice like limited color palette, like earthy tones. Oh, it's so good. It's so beautiful. And I love seeing it like it's like a picture book animated, which is so, so cool. So that would be like a dream to work on something like that. Yeah.
So it seems like step one, have a clear idea for influences, maybe that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the fun of it too. It's like moshing together different points of reference. So how would it look if you infused like 101 Dalmatians with, I don't know, Adventure Time? Like just two totally different styles. Like how would that look together?
All Jakes.
Yeah.
A bunch of Jakes.
Wait,
Yeah.
I love that. 101 Jakes.
101 Jakes.
Oh my God, I want that to be real. Yeah, exactly. It's like finding creative solutions to things that identifying what it is specifically about those that you like and want to bring to your project. So, 101 Dalmatians has like a very like thin line weight, and it has this like offset color. And Adventure Time is really simple, well, deceptively simple designs, and 2B arms and flat colors, and they both kind of have flat colors. So maybe the style has flat color, and then it's like, what is it about each that you want to take? Like, what is it about that makes it unique? And then how would you combine it? That is so much fun. It's like, oh my gosh, like so much of design is just like puzzles. Like you're just creative problem solving, just creative puzzles, which is so much fun. Yeah.
Do you like puzzles? Do you do puzzles and like Sudokus? Like what kind of puzzles do you like to do?
There was a period of time, like maybe like a couple years, where I got an iPad and I just downloaded this puzzle app on my iPad, and it was all I did. It was like this like literal like digital puzzle. It's so stupid.
You mean like jigsaw puzzle?
Yeah,
That is so funny. I love that.
Oh, so much fun.
Oh my God. I wonder when was the last time you guys did a jigsaw puzzle?
Probably during that phase.
Dude, it's been a really long time. My roommate used to like doing puzzles, but I didn't really help.
I didn't really. What are you doing? Are you just
No,
watching?
I
Or are you just like
yeah,
giving orders?
I just I was just given I was backseating. Yeah, I don't know. It's been a while since I did actual like physical puzzles. I feel like I do like puzzle games though.
I don't know if
There's a lot of
you've
cool puzzle games.
ever played.
Huh?
I used to play on the way to work every day. I had downloaded one of these apps that was called something like, I don't know, Brainiac or whatever, like some kind of dumb brain name. But it was all supposed, like the whole point of it was supposed to be like help you keep your like, brain nimble. So you had stuff like, or you had to
Oh,
do,
yeah.
like some math and some stuff where you had to just kind of like that would help you prioritize. So that there was like a little game that was like a coffee shop kind of game. So you had to do like a bunch of orders really, really fast. You had another
Oh,
one that was like a memory game. So like where you had to like they flipped over the cards and you had to like find like the matching cards and stuff. Anyway,
I love that. I love that.
that
like
was
those kind
very
of things.
fun. That was very fun. And I don't know why I stopped paying for it. It was really fun. Now I'm not as smart. I'm not a
Yeah, it's a consequence.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you lost it. You lost it forever. What if you don't use it, you lose it.
Exactly. I do think your brain is kind of, I think your brain is kind of like a muscle and you can kind of keep, I don't know, working on it and making it
Mhm.
stronger.
Yeah.
It is.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my brain buff.
Brain buff. That sounds like
It
the
is.
name of the app, Brain Buff, honestly.
Brain buff? Yeah, or like brain milk, like muscle milk or something. Or
Oh.
no, that feels
Oh.
different. Brain milk feels worse.
Oh my God. That is so funny. Do you
Oh, so we got off topic.
Yeah.
Sorry.
do you have any personal, so I know you brought up that you wanted to open up a shop, but do you also have like do you have maybe like a creative personal project, like a story you want to tell, or
Mm.
like I don't know, like a book you want to make? Anything?
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh, I want to do everything. There's like not enough time in the world.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, what's your separation of work and home like? Like, what's your
Mhm.
balance? Are you one of those
Ooh.
people that like you have your work time and then you're like, I'm not drawing in my after hours. Are you fucking crazy?
Mhm.
And you only draw when you're like in between projects after work. Like, how do you view that stuff? And do you have any projects that you're working on your own in the background?
Yeah, that is like, oh my gosh, something I think about all the time. So when I was doing like background design and like not art directing, anything but art directing, I definitely felt more like energy to draw outside of work. And but I also wanted to like have a nice, work-life balance. Again, I was like pretty young, so I wanted to experience like the dumb young things. But I think, yeah, when I've been art directing, it's been really hard to want to draw after work because you're just like looking at art and cartoons all day, and it's like so much thinking goes into it. So but I still wanted to be creative in some way because also something, okay, fun fact about art directing is you never really draw when you're art directing. And that is like one of the first questions my first boss asked me. He was like, "Do you want that?" Like, because I told him I wanted to art direct, and he's like, "Are you sure? Because you will never draw." And I'm like, "Oh." And then I'd think about it. I'm like, "Yeah, I think I would like that because I like working with people." So the job is like creatively fulfilling in other ways without having to necessarily like draw all the time. But that still is like creative thinking and that still burns you out. So I got really into crochet like after
Mhm.
work, and I would just do that all the time because it's still creative, but you're following a pattern, so it's kind of already figured out for you, and it's like something like tangible. Got really into like reading.
Ooh,
I started
nice.
setting like goals for myself. Yeah, to like read like 20 books a year, which was fun. And then
What kind of books do you like reading? Are you more kind of like fiction, nonfiction?
I'll read anything. I love nonfiction just because you I like, again, it's like learning things, especially, okay, I have to mention this book. I tell everyone about it. My boyfriend actually told me about it because it like changed his life. It's called Peak, and it's the science of expertise.
Mm.
So it literally convinced me that anyone can do anything. And it was like the coolest realization. And it's just all about creating like mental models and then having, the right support system and like, getting feedback and being able to evaluate what you're doing like objectively. So, such a good book. Everyone in the world should read it, especially artists.
How do you remember the author?
Let me see. I think Eric Anders, I want to say. Oh no, Anders Ericsson. I always get it backwards.
Peak
Anders
Eric. A peak Eric moment. I like that you wrote that on this document. Peak Eric.
Peak Eric. That's so funny.
Everyone, draw your peak Eric, the most evolved form of an Eric. Here's my Ericsona.
Anders Ericsson. I'm putting it for everybody to have.
Nice.
And so, yeah, you were saying like what you took away from the book was that you felt you could do anything, like how.
Yeah. Like, okay, so you know how people think that you can't, like, if you're a bad singer, you're a bad singer, and like you can't change that, right?
Yeah, you'll never do anything.
It's not true. Anyone can sing. Anyone can. It's crazy. It's like mind blowing. Like literally anyone can do anything. It's so cool. So I think that's also really important to keep in mind when leading people too, is like knowing your team is capable of so much and you yourself are capable of so much. So even if you don't know something right now, you can eventually know it. So yeah, so I'm going on a tangent now about this, but nonfiction books are great for that reason, because yeah, it's just like constantly like learning something and growing and thinking about things in a new way. I actually got a Storygraph account at one point and I stopped using it, but it was kind of like, I don't know how big of readers you guys are, but Storygraph was like the alternative to Goodreads.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like a reading community app. And what was really cool about Storygraph is they break down the kinds of books you read based on like what you log. Oh no, I'm seeing what you're drawing. Oh no.
Sorry.
Oh.
We're being very distracting.
It's great. I'm very easily distracted. But yeah, Storygraph told me that the kinds of books I read are sad, contemplative, depressing.
Oh my gosh.
So I feel so called out. So yeah, I don't know why. There's just something about a good sad book. But yeah, I'll read anything.
I like sad music a lot, so I get the dude. There's this one book that before we went to sleep, I was reading out loud to my wife every night, and we would just like sit and I would read it out loud. And it's a fiction book, and was it Between Two Fires? I think it is. It's a fiction book, but there's this one part that is so sad that I was trying to read through this one page. I tried it like 5 times, and I kept crying, and I couldn't get through it. And then we stopped reading the book because I had to read it out loud, but I can't get through the page.
Wait, were you?
We tried it on
crying?
like 4 different instances. We tried 4 different times to get through the page, and I just kept crying, and I couldn't read the words out loud, and then we would put it down, and then we stopped reading once we got to that page.
Oh, that's so sweet.
I cry at movies and fiction a lot, but I don't cry very much in real life at like real things.
Oh wow!
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I cry at dramatized things as told through like art and story, but I won't really cry at a funeral usually. Like things like but in a book when someone dies and it's dramatized and it flashes back to all the moments in their life, and then it's such a tragedy, and there's music and that stuff. Like I've cried 40 times at One Piece. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, but One Piece is really good. One Piece is really good at making you feel the feelings it is. It is. For me, it's the Robin arc when like Luffy is
Yep.
Yeah, that one cry every time.
Makes you tear up. But yeah, so I don't shy away from this. I really like that stories can make me feel like that, and it almost makes me cry knowing that human art can make me cry. That's very beautiful to me. And then it's a double cry. It's a cry sandwich. It's a
Cry sandwich.
a nesting crying doll. You know what I mean? Like cry inside of cry inside of cry.
That's so
Yeah.
funny.
I think that's like why I want it to be an animation though too. Is like making people cry over movies. Like, maybe that's, I don't know.
Yeah,
Like, I
it's
think
like
about like
it's like a god. It's like your little god making people cry.
that's right. That's right. Yeah, and then like but the color is just right, and the tone is just right, and the music's just right, and the expressions are just right. Ooh, ooh, so fun.
Do you ever like turn the slider just a little bit and like you lock into that color and you're like cry achieved, like you know you're gonna get someone right there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean that is a lot of like design too. It's just like when you get that gut feeling like, oh yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Oh, it's so nice. We do have some questions from our listeners.
All right.
Our patron Puzzle Glum asks, what was the most helpful thing in helping you learn how perspective works for backgrounds?
I'm just gonna put myself back in that moment and being terrified of it.
Grid.
Yeah, grids are great. I think I definitely like asked my coworkers a lot about perspective. Like, picking people's brains that knew what they were doing was helpful.
What is it? What is perspective? you have a shot. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, that's exactly what I sounded like. Exactly just like that. I think it's like knowing that you don't have to follow it exactly to get a good result is nice. Like sometimes when you follow perspective too accurately, then things will look really stiff and rigid. So it's actually kind of nice when you break that and make it a little bit wonkier. I mean, honestly, like I know this answer sucks, but I think it's just doing it over and over and over and over and over. And like I think the added pressure of having to learn it while working so that you keep your job helps. Because then you're like, I really have to figure this out. Like the first time I drew a car, I'm like, I have no choice. I have to do this. I would not willingly do this, but I have to do it. So yeah, I think it's also breaking things down into their form. Drawing things through is so helpful. The eye line exercise. So like when you're drawing like a background, for instance, and there's a character in the scene and the character has to like move from place to place, or you're trying to draw like indicate some pretty extreme depth and you need to know how to scale an object in space. It's super helpful to just take that character and use that eyeline method where you find either a point on their body or their eyes on the horizon line, and then you just match that point. And as you scale them front and back in perspective, and then you can just take that little like character that you drew based on the storyboards usually, and just move them in space and shrink them and scale them. And then that'll help inform the size of the object in that space. So
that's a good tip.
Yeah, those things are like, so I still use those things like to this day just to like double check my work. It's you learn little tips and tricks.
How do you decide when to break perspective for the sake of design?
It depends on the show style.
We work in cartoons, and a lot of the times it's like, okay, we have perspective, but maybe what the shot needs isn't perfect perspective. It's like a nice designed flat thing,
Yeah, so that is also, okay, so it's super helpful to also like chat with directors and board artists when you're working on a project so you can understand like their intent with a shot, for instance. So if I'll notice that like the perspective is like really wrong in a storyboard panel that I have to design, and I'm like not sure what direction to take it, like should I fix this perspective? Should I just follow the boards exactly? First, if you're a background designer, you'd ask your art director, but if you're the art director, you could go to either probably the director and be like, hey, what was the intent of this shot? Like, are you cool if I fix it up a little bit, or can you maybe like revise the character placement a little bit, so that this makes more sense in perspective? It makes it easier on the background designers. So, or should we just like completely ignore the rules of logic and perspective and just like go for it and try to make it believable? As long as it feels correct and feels believable, that's all that matters at the end of the day. And sometimes when you follow perspective like to a T and it's perfect, it doesn't feel right. So you have to like break it and bend it and twist the rules.
Like a bop it.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
It's just like a bop it. Yeah. When I press the keys on a keyboard, I make the noises of a bop it, you know?
Bop it, twist it. Yeah, I basically, the way that I decide whether to break perspective is I literally have a bop it next to me, and
Oh,
whatever comes up next, I'm like, okay, right here I'm gonna bop it, but right here I'm gonna twist the perspective, and that's how I do it. But it's not gonna work for everybody.
I think it's really good advice.
Wait, oh, I have to explain for people who are international listeners, they might not know what a bop it is. So it is a toy that says words at you, which is either bop it or twist it, and then you have to press the
Pull it. You
buttons.
could pull it too.
You can pull it too, and so it's random.
Yeah, it's a it gives you randomized words, and it's a game, and the words speed up, and it's like this weird gadget that has all these knobs on it, and you have to like tweak it or pull it or bop it or whatever, and keep up with the song, or else you lose. And so the joke that I'm making is that I use this toy to inform me as to whether I twist perspective based on a timed song that it's making me do.
Sorry, I had to.
And
I had to
all of it's a
explain your.
joke.
Sorry, I had to explain your joke, Sean. I just want to make sure.
No. It's important that people know. At the end of the day, I am just glad everyone knows what a bop it is now, and that's
You're the
creative
ambassador.
bop it is what our podcast is called.
Oh my gosh. Our listener at Stella Magic from Turner asks, "Who was your favorite Ducktale character?"
Oh. I think it would be okay, he only appears for like a second in the show, but long-legged Huey was really good. Uh, just like the long version of Huey. I also have a soft spot for Webby. Yeah, I think it's a lot of the show ends up being about her. I don't want to spoil anything, but yeah, I think she goes through like an evolution. It's really sweet to witness. Yeah, and she's kind of like the odd one out, a little spunky and fun. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. We have a really good question from one of our YouTube listener at SpongeBob38. Apologies if you don't want to talk about it, but I'm an animation student, and with everything going on, what's your advice for someone trying to enter the industry?
Yeah, it is a rough time. And I think like we're all going through this right now where it's like a little bit of existential crisis in some ways, especially yeah, I mean, something I always talk about with my friends that work in animation is like how like bad we feel for students right now and people that are trying to just enter because it is just like the worst time like ever, which I'm not saying to discourage anyone because I think things will get better. I From what I can tell, I mean, I've only been in the industry for like 9 years, so it's not a ton of time, but from what I can tell from talking to people and just reading stuff, it seems like this is a pretty unprecedented time too. Like this is not very normal because of like everything that's happened. So I would say, as difficult as it is, to just like, I don't know, stay hopeful, but stay realistic, which I think is find other passions and ways to find revenue that isn't animation while like nobody can find work. And then when the time is right, it'll happen. And I know that it will. Like there's no way it can stay like this. Yeah, it's tough. But I think if things were normal, my advice would be different. It would be, definitely like go to networking events and meet people and ask for advice on your work and how you can improve and try to be very like objective about it and be able to look at your work and like from a distance and be like, okay, what do I really need to improve at? Yeah, find what you're drawn towards. It's such a mix of luck, talent, hardworking. I mean, talent, I don't necessarily believe in talent. I think it's like working really hard. So it's, talent, working hard, luck, and who which is so unfortunate. But I feel like most jobs that I've gotten have been through people I knew. Actually, that's not true. A lot of jobs I got through people I didn't know too. But it's like people who it's like one person removed from like working with
Well,
them.
it can be through people you meet. You don't have to be like, I was already
Yeah.
best friends with this person,
Mm-hmm.
but it
Right.
helps to like meet new people. And even if it's one conversation, if somebody has a pleasant interaction with you, you never know what it'll lead to. I
Hmm.
also, just for our listeners who are trying to get into animation, I've been thinking about this a little bit. The main place that is struggling in animation is if you want to work on shows and at a studio.
Yes.
There's always going to be animation for music videos and commercials
Mm-hmm.
and for a variety of many different other things that aren't those studios. The main issue is animation at studios, and which is a problem because those studios pay the most for sure.
Yeah.
That's an issue, but
Yeah.
don't let it just destroy your dreams of animation in general as a freelancer.
I would add on to that because they might not always pay the most, because if you do end up like doing commercials can end up like paying a lot of money. It's just not
Sure.
as consistent, but like technically if you look at the weekly rate that you would get paid like working on a commercial, it would be higher than working at a studio. However, you just don't get the job and as a regular manner as a studio. But I will say also, because that's something that I've seen a little bit on Twitter, but that doesn't get as much like traction or attention. But a lot of like very amazing, like boundary pushing, beautiful animation is usually done at advertisement studios, like studios like The Line. There's plenty that I'm forgetting, but I think it's very interesting and important for people right now to be looking outside of studios for sure. And there's like, yeah, there are jobs that are just not with Cartoon Network or Warner Brother or whatever, which I think is really important for people to hear, because these are also great jobs and you might end up having more fun too. It depends on the personality of the artist, but I know some artists have a better time on advertisements as well, just because the variety of the art and everything that you get to do is I would say is more than at studio.
Yeah, and sorry to jump into a question that was asked to you, but I also didn't want to leave you strictly holding the hope of all animators in the future as like with your answer alone. That's all.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, I think that's great advice. I mean, there are so many beautiful like motion graphics companies too. Like, I don't know if you guys have heard of Buck. I love their work. They also did like a little, excuse me, they did a bit of animation for that Fiona and Cake show. They did like this like Ice King sequence, and it was so gorgeous. So there's a lot of great studios that aren't the big studios, you know.
Yeah, exactly. That's awesome. That's a really good answer. And our last question from YouTube, Gerardo Peter, what drew you to animation?
Ooh, beyond wanting to make people cry. It's something that I like knew I wanted to do since I was little, which is weird to like know that. But I think as an adult, what really drew me to it is just the fusion of so many different types of art and like having them combined together to make a final product is so cool. Like it's filmmaking, but it's also like understanding music and having the music affect the visuals, and it can be like graphic design, it can be like acting. It's like so many different art forms just combined into one, so it's not like it never gets boring, and it's also like limitless in a lot of ways because you can literally make anything exist with cartoons. And I think also just like my obsessive anime and manga phase when I was like 12, part of it too. Yeah, I was like making stupid Flash animations back when it was like Flash MX 2008, like off of like making dumb Digimon cartoons in Flash when I was little.
Digimon or Pokemon anime only?
It was okay. I never watched Pokemon. I only was into Digimon, and it was only the one where they transformed into the Digimon, the people.
I love how Digimon is just like, hey, what if we had Pokemon and we gave them like weapons and made them muscly and hot sometimes? like let's make these Pokemon more dangerous and kind of like hot sometimes.
They were so cool.
A guest also who was just like recently that was just like Digimon only, like because they were like Pokemon.
Oh.
That's so funny.
Who was this guest? I need to know.
That is oh my god, wasn't it Sarah Schmidt?
Might have been, yeah. We'll hook up a play date.
Yeah, that is so
you.
funny. I think she was really into Digimon. She was like, Pokemon's for babies.
My people.
That
Beautiful.
I thought that was so funny, and it's funny because it's true. I do feel like there's a lot of animation people who are kind of like, I'm only Digimon.
It's true. That's true.
That's so funny. That's so funny.
Oh my gosh, I love this drawing you're making of the cat underneath my cat. It's beautiful.
I was like, can I use the same shapes that you did, but to make less of a body?
Less of a body.
I feel like that's my cat. I feel like you captured him much better than I did because he has like one brain cell, maybe. Like he's very dumb. So this is perfect.
I'm a big fan of the walleye. I'm a big fan of just like, let's just move those eyeballs apart a little bit.
Oh yeah, I like that too. Very good.
Let's see. Do you have? Okay, so Valerie, do you experience creative block? Like it, and if you do, how do you like deal with it to get out of it, or how do you? Yeah, what do you do?
It happens all the time, and I think that's why I have a Pinterest board with like 10,000 images saved because I just when you start looking at really pretty like illustrations and art, then you feel like inspired to make something yourself, or at least save it for later and revisit it to get that inspiration again. I think sometimes like you kind of have no choice but to just keep pushing through, especially when you're like working on a job and there's a tight schedule. So you just have to start like just searching for something to grab at and think about and just start drawing. Other times it's just like late at night and you just are like, I need to draw something right now. I have an idea, I need to get it out. But I think especially like working on this like goofy small business I'm starting is I'm like drawing for myself consistently every day for the first time in like years. And it's because it's something I'm like super excited about and stuff I'm like very interested in. And it's like a guilty pleasure of just like drawing nothing but flowers. And I love flowers. So it doesn't feel like difficult because it's something I love. But if it's something that, you're assigned to do and you have to like find a way to make it interesting for yourself, I think just a lot of it starts with starting somewhere, like researching or going to Pinterest.
I love that. That's great.
No, it's a good answer.
Well, is there anything you want to plug?
Ooh. Do you have a website for your small business? How do we find it?
I do. It's not like launched officially yet, so it's still like under lock and key, but it will be at www.friendly-folk.com. And yeah, I'm hoping to open it up at the like end of September, beginning of October. Be selling like earrings and wall art and stickers and a lot of fun stuff. And it's all very cute and floral and colorful. So yeah.
That's awesome. Is there a place where you post on the most regularly in the meantime?
You can find me on Instagram at Val Schwarz. That's with 2 L's. You can also find me on Twitter, but I don't really post there. It's the same, at Val Schwarz, or my website, valerieschwarz.com. Oh, and then my Pinterest is also, I think, Val Schwarz. I'll have to find it. I don't remember.
I love that. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast and spending time with us. That was so much great advice and inspiration, like inspiring.
I'm glad.
Words.
and you might even be doing the very thing that you love doing the most, which is make people cry, because we're ending the episode right now.
Oh, yes.
And with that, with these many tears, that is the end of this creative vlog. Valerie, thanks for being our guest and sharing your story.
Yeah, Yeah, thanks so much for having me. That's super fun.
And thanks to our listeners, too. Follow us on social media at CRTV Block, where we ask for drawing prompts and questions to ask our guests. Huge thanks to Clemens for editing the podcast, Marco for helping us produce the show, and Ibuka for creating the short clips we've been putting online.
If you love our show, you can support us on Patreon. Becoming a patron gets you early access to interviews and access to our Discord community. You can also support us by liking, subscribing, commenting. Commenting is huge. If you have time, that really gives us a big leg up. And so you can click the link in the description of this episode to follow Valerie on social media. And I've been your host, V.
And I was Sean. Keep being creative, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.